The following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from Asmodee. Hello and welcome to another episode of Dad vs. Daughter. I'm Tim the Dad.
I'm Megan the Daughter.
And today you can see this is kind of a different style episode intro because this is a different style game. Of course, I'm wearing my NCIS apparel. Megan, what do you got?
Which doesn't really fit with the game, though.
Well, sort of, kind of.
Not really. This guy really fits in with the game.
It says...
the game is on.
The game is on because what we are playing today is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Now, this is kind of a reprint. This one is the Jack the Ripper and West End Adventures. So we are going to... We're not actually playing Holmes and Watson.
No.
We are playing as the... I forgot what they actually called them.
Wiggins is who we're going with, but we're part of the Homeless Network.
Well, but that's not what they called in this. That's what they called in the BBC
that's what
Sherlock.
I'm calling it, because that's what I'm referring to.
So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be following leads. We're going to be taking notes, finding clues. So that's why, NCIS for me and Sherlock for you. I don't have a Sherlock shirt. So this is the closest thing I've got. Now, I will say this. This episode is full of spoilers. We're actually going to be going through the entire case. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you probably don't want to watch much further. So, Megan, let's go ahead and let's give them our quick review up front.
Okay.
Now, this is a game we both really enjoyed.
Yes.
Now, it did take us quite a while to play. The video's not as long because we cut out a lot of the table talk that we had and so forth. But this is a very unique style game. I don't think we've ever played a game like this.
Not really, no.
But we had a lot of fun, very immersive. If you like story types of games, I think you're really going to like this one.
Very cool. I think it's very much a Clue, choose your own adventure type game. So I think if you're going to like both of those, you're really going to like this. Especially if you like Sherlock.
Yeah, that's a very accurate description. So, like I said, the rest of the episode is spoilers. I started off and I was going to try to keep the spoilers to a minimum, and that didn't happen.
No.
We got too excited. We were talking about things. Even the review, I was originally going to try to keep spoiler free. And we were talking about, we did this and we did that. And so proceed at your own risk for spoilers and check it out. This is going to be a different sort of video because a lot of this is story and then us kind of discussing what we need to do. The rule book, really, there's not a whole lot to it. Basically, it outlines, here's the introduction, here's the object of the game, here is the map of London and basically how that is read, and then it talks about the list of informants, the case books, which each one of the cases has its own case book. And then we also have newspapers for the day of the investigation. The Jack the Ripper campaign is actually the first 4 cases. The rules will tell you don't start with that if you've never played this before. So we're actually starting with case 5 because it is the first of the standalones.
Yep, so it is Dr. Goldfire is this case. And it takes place on Monday, September 12th, 1898.
So there is actually a little bit of backstory, and we're not going to read that because we don't want to. I mean, we've already read it, but we don't want to spoil it for you. We want to try to keep this as
inconspicuous.
Well,
to some extent.
We realize there's going to be spoilers, and you're only watching this because either A, you want to see the review, which you're going to need to skip to the end, or you kind of want to see how we went through this first one. Now, so you can see here is the whole backstory right there, and this is something we're going to talk about in a minute. And then it will tell you, it says, this is the first independent case after the Jack the Ripper campaign. Only take a single newspaper. So we have that newspaper. And then the rest of the book is going to be our leads, and it's going to have different basically addresses or locations within London that we're going to go to. So those each have their own little stories. And then at the very end, there are a series of questions that basically we have to answer in order to show that we know or we have solved the case. And then this envelope that is there, that is the actual answers. Sherlock Holmes gets a perfect 100. But based on however many leads he had, every lead that we have more than him, we're actually going to lose points. So we're going to basically try to see what our score is compared to his. I don't think we'll ever beat Sherlock,
No.
but we want to try to at least have positive points.
Yeah, that's a
So
good thing.
we have the map of London, and it's got different locations numbered on there. The map is broken up into different sections. We've got northwest, southwest, southeast. We have west center and east center, and then you can see the River Thames going through there. So Megan was going to talk about the newspaper. The story actually tells you that we're starting the next day.
Yes,
so instead
all
of
the other newspapers correspond with the correct date on the case book, but this one we're like, we'll just take care of it in the morning. So we got a brand new newspaper. It's the Illustrated Police News. So we're going to be using this to try to help us. They seem like a lot of unrelated stories here, but we're going to see if we can piece them together and figure something out.
So the way we're going to kind of do this is basically you take turns being the lead investigator. You're going to decide which one of the leads that you want to follow. You do that on your turn. You take notes, and then once you are done with that lead, then you pass it along to the next player. You can always go back and revisit any of the leads that you've already done before. There's no penalty for that, as well as rereading the newspaper and so forth. So what we're going to do is we will take turns being the lead, and while we are kind of discussing things, we're not going to have that on camera, but we'll come back and we'll talk about this is what we decided upon, because otherwise it'd be a lot of just kind of back and forth saying, oh, do we want to do this? Do we want to do that? Which would probably make for kind of a boring video.
And a really long one, too.
So, so we want to try to cut it down to kind of the most important things.
We also have here the London directory, and when you open it up, it does kind of tell you, you might start looking for names, and it'll have all the names of all the different people we could encounter. And it says you might want to maybe use this kind of, if you're dealing with a case with poison, you might look under chemists or hospitals. So there's all of these different people and places here in this little directory. And it does say, please treat it as a real case, just like Holmes would. And that's what we're going to be trying to do.
So I will kind of give you a little bit of an overview on what the story is. Like I said, I won't read it. But basically, the story sets up, we are members of Holmes' network of people that are on the street.
The Homeless Network.
Well, that's what it says in the BBC.
I mean,
Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock. Benedict? Dr. Strange.
I mean, that too, yeah.
So basically, we are in his apartment at 221B Baker Street, and one of Dr. Watson's colleagues from the university shows up, and his name is G. Tubman Goldfire. So that's where the Dr. Goldfire comes in. And basically, he thinks somebody's trying to kill him. He had said that he was at a location and somebody shot at him. And so basically, he came up with a list of 4 people that he goes, one of these is surely the one that's trying to kill him. And that's what is on this page here. We have Dr. Henry Gray from Middlesex Hospital. We have Dr. looks like gibberish at 46 Tower Street. We have Dr. looks like Dracorius from Bethlehem. And then we have Sir Charles Hall, or Halla, at St. George. So, Megan, do you want to start being the lead investigator, or do you want me to be?
I can, yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pause the video, and we're going to figure out which lead we want to go with first, based on the back of the book, or based off of one of these names, and we'll come back and we'll tell you what we're going to do. Okay, so what we decided to do, or I should say, Megan is the lead investigator for this turn, is that we have decided to check out the location where this gunshot was happening.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I've got my Leroy Jethro Gibbs hat on. I'm thinking NCIS. Maybe that there is a bullet that we can find what kind of caliber it was, maybe somewhere where that is at. Now, where the Carlton Club is at is actually, it's Southwest 7. Which is right here on the map.
In our little directory.
And it is right next to the Diogenes Club. But we know Mycroft always hangs out there from watching Sherlock. So this is where we're going to go first. So Megan has actually found the spot in the book and she is going to read what we find.
Yep, so the doorman of the Carlton Club has a military bearing worthy of the splendid uniform he wears. Excuse me, says Wiggins. Yes, sir. Do you know Dr. Goldfire? He's a member of the club. Yes, sir, I know the doctor. He dines here almost every night. Were you here last Saturday? Yes, sir, and here every day except for Sunday from 3 in the afternoon to midnight. We're investigating at Dr. Goldfire's request. He said that the assassination attempt on his person took place here Saturday night. An assassination attempt here? How? He said that he was fired upon when leaving here after his meal. Sir, I think he's pulling a prank on you. There has been no gunshot fired in the street for over 10 years. I know how to recognize gunshot. I fought in India, and I've heard the heathens' bullets fly quite often. No, sir, the doctor is lying to you. So that was kind of a dead end.
Interesting.
But this guy, we don't have a name, just the doorman of the club.
So the doorman was ex-military.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's ponder on that for a little bit.
That's kind of a dud.
Okay, so the doorman basically is ex-military guy, says he didn't hear a gunshot, but because he was in the war, he might have had a hearing injury. He might not have actually heard the gunshot even though it happened. But here is the thing. I'm going to zoom in on the map here.
What if it wasn't a gunshot?
That's true. It could have been something else. Where are we at?
Over here.
Right there. Okay. So I realize this is very small print and it's not really showing up on camera even when I've got this zoomed in. But like I said, it's right next to the Diogenes Club. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I pronounce it differently, but
and we know that that's where Mycroft hangs out at.
Yeah.
So we actually looked up Mycroft in the directory, and it says that's where Mycroft is at. So what we're going to do is we're going to go talk to Mycroft Holmes and find out what he may have heard.
I mean, because
being
they're
there.
so close next to each other.
They're right next door.
And gunshots are pretty loud.
Well, and here's the thing: that Diogenes Club, everybody, there's no talking.
Yeah,
it's
you have to
very
be
quiet.
quiet.
So if it's very quiet in there, you would think that they would have heard something. So let's go ahead and did you find 8?
Yep, I
So
found
it's
8.
8 Southwest that we're looking up. So go ahead and read what our investigation says about that.
So Walter Goldfire was an active politician from the old generation, but it was public knowledge that he was on the short list for the post of prime minister when he was left under the public pretense of personal problems. As far as I know, nothing in his political career would justify his retirement. Sitting across from Mycroft in the visitors' room of the club, we continue our questioning. He never returned to the forefront? Asked Wiggins. No, he remained a hermit until his death. It's the sad, surprising, and the short story of W. Goldfire, Member of Parliament. Mycroft picks up today's Times and begins reading it. So he says he's dead.
I don't think that's what he says. He just says he doesn't know why he
remained a hermit until his death. So this is not the same Goldfire.
Yeah, this is Walter Goldfire. So it could be our Goldfire, Dr. Goldfire's father.
Well, it said older generation, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it's somewhere down the line.
So our second lead was Mycroft, and he kind of turned out to be a bust.
He doesn't know
as well.
anything about.
He just knows about the older, this older Goldfire. So
That might tie into something, maybe. Since
that's
it
true.
said it was personal problems why he left, maybe it's something going on. Because we do know that this Goldfire, from a backstory, he kind of he works in an asylum. And
he studies criminal brains.
Yeah, so I wonder if that might tie
So another
into
CBS TV show, Criminal Minds,
Yeah.
that your mom watches.
But I wonder if that might tie in, if that's maybe what inspired him, if it just says personal problems. It's not telling us what.
Maybe he was a little on the crazy side, had some mental issues.
Yeah, so something's going on there.
Okay.
That's not very helpful, though.
So it's back to you as the lead investigator.
I don't know.
So I don't recall seeing anything in the newspaper about anything that would be connected to what we've looked at so far.
No, that's what I'm just glancing over. I don't think anything either.
So the only other thing I can think of right now is,
Do we want to go talk to
do we
some
want
of the people?
Yeah, do we want to talk to some of these people that are on the list that Dr. Goldfinger thinks is
Goldfinger. It's not
Goldfire.
It's not James Bond.
Goldfinger. Find out who or talk to these people that he thinks is trying to kill him.
Well, here's the thing. I just saw. I don't know if it's related yet, but in the back it says the Criminal Brain Exposition at the King's College Hospital.
Yeah.
So that might kind of tie in here a little bit too.
And the King's College Hospital, I don't think that was on.
It wasn't the one he was at, because I forget it wasn't that one though.
No, the King's College is not on here.
that might be something to check out later, but I think I want to maybe hit up one of the people on his list.
Yeah.
But I just kind of noticed that
I was really hoping that we would find something out at either one of the
That
clubs.
didn't help much. What was one of those dudes' names?
So the guy that's on the top
Let's
of
go
the
with the
list
first one.
is Dr. Henry Gray.
Gray?
He's at Middlesex Hospital.
Let's see, Gray. That guy does not come up in our book.
Dr. Henry Gray?
Under G, Gray. That, we have a Phillips, Mercedes. Wait, that's all that we have under Gray. What was the hospital?
The hospital was Middlesex Hospital.
Middlesex. Let's go back here to hospitals. 10 Northwest. So we're up here somewhere, number 10, right there, the red one. So I wonder if that's a thing in our book we might be able to maybe talk to one of his colleagues or something.
Yeah, find out maybe is there any kind of motive
Yeah.
that
Well, he
anybody
said
would know
he
about?
knew one person was probably definitely after him, but he didn't really say what.
Let's see, where was Dr. Goldfire? Which hospital was he at?
I think it's out on the second page. So what was that name? Gray?
Dr.
Gray was at
Dr. Henry Gray. He's not a general practitioner. He's specialized in cerebral illness, and he's part of teams in many hospitals around London. His hospital of choice is Bethlehem Asylum,
Okay.
and that's where Dr. Gibberish is at. Dr. looks like it's Gibisco, G-I-B-I, or Gibilsco, Gibilsco, or C-A.
GI.
Or no, excuse me, that's wrong doctor. Dr. Dractorius, he's at Bethlehem.
D? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it looks like Dractorium. All right, so for our next lead, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to Middlesex Hospital, and because we've looked through the directory, and there is no mention of a Dr. Henry Gray, so we're going to go to the hospital and try to figure out.
Because that's where it says he works at.
Yeah.
Let me look. So, 10 Northwest. Boop. Got it.
And that is up
Okay.
here, right? Where was it at? Middlesex
Gotcha.
Hospital. Where was that?
Ooh,
Right here.
He's got a big story here.
There's Middlesex Hospital. All right.
Okay.
So what do we know?
After having asked many passerbys, we find the lab, which doubles as an office for Dr. Henry Gray. Inside the room, there are bodies, both whole and cut up, of primates of all sorts. Gross. The man we suppose is Dr. Gray is leaning on the shoulder of a young man holding a sketch pad. The two are carefully observing a human corpse laid out on the dissection table, the left leg open, revealing its morbid musculature. We wait for Dr. Gray to pull away before questioning him. Dr. Gray, yes. Could we bother you despite your packed schedule to ask you a few questions about one of your colleagues, Dr. Goldfire? Who are you? My name is Wiggins. We're assisting Sherlock Holmes in an investigation at Dr. Goldfire's request. In that case, I'm listening. How long have you known him? I met him when I was working at Charing Cross more than 10 years ago.
Okay, so that's a clue. Charing Cross, 10 years ago.
And that came up as a hospital in the directory.
Okay.
Okay. Do you consider him a friend? I think so, yes. A relationship above all else professional. What were you doing on Saturday night? I was home. Why? Dr. Goldfire told us about his recent work on the workings of the subconscious and the detection of killers to be through the analysis of a series of test questions. That's absurd. I can't believe that George Tubman Goldfire has told you this. Just like I do, he believes that physics issues have an organic origin. You must be mistaken, young man. However, sir, he told Sherlock Holmes that he had determined by using this method that one of the 4 doctors on this list wanted to kill him, a list on which your name appears. Dr. Gray's behavior, calm and polite so far, changes entirely upon hearing that last sentence. He turns crimson and the eyes seem to be on the verge of popping out of his head. I'm a doctor, held in high esteem by my peers. That theory is the most stupid thing I have ever heard, and I refuse to believe that it is the work of Dr. Goldfire. I suggest you take your theories and your accusations elsewhere. Good day.
Oh, so
He got a little testy there.
snap. He basically told us to get out of his office. So, interesting. So, at least we know that 10 years ago,
They had a thing.
They didn't have a thing.
They had a connection.
They worked at a different hospital together, but he considered himself to be a colleague. He didn't seem like he had any ill will until he found out that he was being accused of possibly trying to kill him.
Which, I mean, I think anyone would kind of have that reaction, but I don't know. He was kind of like, just get out at that point.
Yeah.
So that's a little suspicious. That hospital, though, the Caring Cross, is at 91 WC. So that's going to be 94, 90, somewhere around here.
So
He's in
far,
this area.
our leads are not coming up with much. So let's just take a break here and try to collect our thoughts and figure out what our next move is going to be.
91.
All right. So since we keep coming up kind of blank, we're going to try to go to, or I shouldn't say try, we're going to go to Bethlehem Lunatic Asylum,
Well,
which
here's my
is
thing, though.
right here, because the other doctor that was listed for Bethlehem is that Dr. Victorious, and he is not in the directory at all.
Well, the thing is, too, the only thing I could come up with talking to Dr. Gray was that he said he was friends with him like 10 years ago, and we don't know exactly the time frame on that other Goldfire when we talked to Mycroft, so I don't know if that might be related, but that's like the only kind of tie-in I can kind of get from that.
Yeah, I don't know. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the
Which doctor is this?
the witch doctor.
Which one?
I told the witch doctor. This is, well, it would be Dr. Dractorius. Dractorius. Who is, like I said, is not in the directory.
Gotcha. Okay. So go ahead and read that very long story.
Okay, so
Let me read that one.
just as we settle down in the chairs lined up along the whitewashed walls of the Bethlehem Asylum's waiting room, a broad-shouldered man wearing a white coat enters and introduces himself as O'Connell. I wonder if that's Rick O'Connell from the Mummy movies.
Highly doubt it, but go ahead.
He invites us to follow him to Dr. Pretorius.
P?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, hang on.
Read that handwritten note incorrectly?
You
It is
know
in
what?
cursive.
Well, the D's look very similar.
PR?
Yeah.
Go ahead and continue reading. I'm going to look that up. That's a big story.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you here to see a patient? Asks O'Connell as he leads us along the white corridor. No, just Dr. Pretorius. Do you know Dr. Goldfire? Asked Wiggins in a careful tone. Yes, he was here not long ago. He works with old Pretorius. What do you think of him? I'll tell you guys, I've been working here for so long that I can't tell the difference between the patients and the doctors anymore. I wonder if some of these doctors shouldn't be locked up in here. Old Pretorius, there's 278 crazies here. Some believe themselves to be dogs, others lions. We have 3 Napoleons, 6 Wellingtons, and 2 bloody Queen Victorias locked up. And what is Pretorius thinking about this? About hygiene of the hands. My team is made up of 36 solid fellows to be able to overpower these lunatics, and I need to spend hours each day checking their hands as if they were school children. Pretorius lines them up at the beginning of each shift and inspects their hands. If they aren't clean, they're sent to the sink. Crazies, doctors, it's all the same. Arriving in front of Pretorius' office, O'Connell knocks on the door, and a tall, lean man opens the door almost immediately. These gentlemen are here to see you, Doctor. Thank you, you can go. Pretorius closes the door behind us and heads to the desk, limping while motioning for us to follow him. Where is that bloody cane? He mutters questioningly to himself before turning his piercing gaze to us. What can I do for you? We work for Dr. Goldfire. Dr. Goldfire? Yes, he's an acquaintance of yours. He's been in the team here at Bethlehem for 5 years now. I've known him for almost 10. So these doctors all know each other for 10 years. Pretorius hasn't offered us a seat. There aren't any in his office. His desk is an old archivist desk on which he leans as he talks to us. Before he has time to finish his sentence, the door opens abruptly. Dr. Pretorius, come quick, sir, shouts O'Connell, overexcited. What's this about? Asks Pretorius. It's Dr. Goldfire. He's dead.
What?
Pretorius leaves the room with O'Connell, and we follow them. The doctor's limp doesn't seem to hinder him, as O'Connell leads us through the maze of corridors to a small group gathered in front of an enormous wooden door. He's in the cold room, says O'Connell to Pretorius, while moving aside the curious from the way. Behind the door, the weak light of a light bulb illuminates the frozen air of a large room. Large slabs of meat hang from the ceiling, and crates of vegetables are stacked against one wall. The body of Dr. Goldfire is hanging near a carcass,
Ooh.
fine, pale, and lifeless. Get him down from there, ordered Pretorius. I don't think we should do that. I've sent O'Reilly to fetch the police. We should wait for them. There was a bobby in the street. It shouldn't take too long, says O'Connell, his eyes fixed on the lifeless corpse. Before Pretorius had a chance to answer, the policeman in question enters the room. Bloody hell. He sounds like Ron Weasley. He lets out as he enters the cold room. It doesn't take him long to decide that the case is of Scotland Yard's jurisdiction. We're kicked out of the morbid scene and asked to stay put in a waiting room. An hour later, one of the officers enters the room, followed by a young man with pink cheeks and a short man with a rat-like face. Wiggins, what a surprise. Hello, Inspector. Wiggins gives a semi-cynical smile to Lestrade. Greg.
I love Lestrade.
Yeah.
It's not his division.
Not my division. What can you tell us about Goldfire's death? I'm the one asking questions, Wiggins. And first off, I want to know what you're doing here. Dr. Goldfire retained the services of Mr. Holmes last night. We're assisting him in his investigation. Well, your investigation is over. We found this in the pocket of his jacket. Lestrade hands us a short goodbye letter, which says,
Ooh.
I can't look at the world in the eyes after what I've done. I'd rather put an end to it.
So suicide now.
Yeah. I had a bet with Gregson that I'd solve the case before he found the murderer of the small crook Bobby Field, which is in the newspaper.
Yes.
I think I won my pint for tonight. Lestrade turns to his companion. Channing, take their statements, and remember that you're the investigator. Wiggins has the habit of forgetting his place. Last point, Wiggins. I better not hear you've been spreading stories about Goldfire's death. It'd be a pleasure to stick you in a hole.
Okay, so here's what I've already gathered from that. Bobby Field was the body found in the Thames, but the limp with the cane reminded me very much of John.
Yeah.
And, obviously it was kind of like, almost like a psychological thing where he didn't necessarily need the cane. Because that was the thing that happened with John, at least in the Study in Pink episode.
Yeah.
Because that was what Sherlock tested him on. So that's a little interesting, but it all goes back to this 10 years as well.
Yeah, so he's
Something's going on there.
He's been together with him at Bethlehem for 5 years, but he's known him for 10, he said.
But Bobby Field was the guy dead in the Thames.
With an apparent head trauma. So,
Something's
but
going on.
maybe not really sure.
But
We
he
just
killed
know
himself.
that. Well, that's what we're maybe led to believe,
That's true.
that he killed himself.
But
Usually
see-
they would kill him and then stick that letter in there.
That's
So
true, too.
I wonder if that handwriting matches his. So is there one of Holmes' contacts who knows handwriting? So
We'll look that up.
we're going to look this up and we'll get back to you. All right, so Megan is back as the lead investigator. We have decided that we are going to go meet with H.R. Murray. He is a criminologist. He analyzes all items and substances found during cases, because we have a feeling that this is not a suicide note, that he was murdered.
But, I'm looking, just comparing the two notes right now. The way they dot the I's is the same. That could be coincidence, but I'm just looking at minor things like that. But I'd rather talk to an expert. So he is at 22 Southwest. Alright, here we go. So Murray is lying on top of one of his work tables, breathing deeply and with a beatific smile, signs which show he's deeply asleep. I hate waking him up, says Wiggins, but I'd like to know what was found on the body of Bobby Field. Ooh, so we're investigating with Bobby now. We wait for a moment while Wiggins makes up his mind. Apparently, he came to a conclusion. We should be able to find the right box, he says, while starting to search a nearby shelf. There it is, let's see. 7 shillings, 9 pence. The tools of the trade, he says, while showing a full key ring and a small tool evidently meant to pick locks. That's all, no need to wake him up, I think. He returns the items to the box, returns the box to the shelf, and we leave discreetly. So we didn't get the note looked at, but we found out some more about Bobby.
So what did we just find out?
We found out Bobby has 7 shillings and 9 pence and a lockpick tool. That was what was found on him when he was dragged out of the Thames. But they had a bet on solving that case, which is not.
Yeah, Gregson and Lestrade. Let's see. No information is available. Investigation set to begin Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock in the coroner's office. So,
Maybe we should talk to the coroner.
well, that's what I'm thinking.
Since that guy kind of didn't help us exactly with what we wanted.
I was really hoping that he would be able to tell us about the note. Unfortunately, that's not the way the game is steering us. It's going towards the Bobby Field part. And I wonder if we talk to the medical examiner, Sir Jasper Meeks, if that is going to be about Bobby Fields as well, instead of Dr. Goldfire's dead body hanging on the old meat hook there in the cold room. So
yeah, because we kind of want to know more about Goldfire now than, you know.
yeah, so let's figure out exactly what we're going to do. Okay, is this our sixth lead?
This is our 6,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're going to talk to Sir Jasper Meeks, who is he's the ducky, the NCIS ducky. He's the medical examiner.
You know.
He says, the only body I have right now is Bobby Fields.
Ugh.
There isn't much to say about it. He was killed by a blow to the top of the head, made by someone behind him with a blunt object. No trace of a struggle. He was probably attacked by surprise. I know that another body should be arriving soon from Bethlehem Asylum, but I don't have any more information. Well, we know that body is Dr. Goldfire.
Possibly. Could be
But
someone else.
that told
Yeah.
us absolutely nothing other than Bobby was attacked from behind
Yeah.
with a blunt object and
That was
bonked him
exciting.
on the head. All right, so let's give us some thought and figure out what our next move is going to be. All right, so it's back to Megan as lead investigator. We've decided we're going to go check out this Carrying Cross place because that's where what's his name?
Gray.
Dr. Gray.
Gray worked there with Goldfire 10 years ago, and we know that Pretorius knew him 10 years ago too. So I'm
So we're going to see
thinking
if there's a connection.
something with a 10 is bothering me. So we're going to go there, and it's short again. Yes, I know Dr. Gray and Goldfire. Dr. Horace Mansfield, head director of Caring Cross, tells us. Dr. Gray is the head of our board on dementia. We provide discreet services of the highest quality to families who are in need of it. And is Dr. Goldfire a member of this board too? No, Goldfire has never been a member of our staff. One of his family members was a patient here many years ago. Do you know who that family member was? No, I don't know the details. As I said, we provide discreet services.
I bet that guy we talked to, Mycroft, I bet that was his dad.
So that's coming into play. I knew that had something to do with it.
But we don't know
But
how that is
Goldfire
any kind of connection.
never worked there.
No.
But
He knew him from
he knew him
there.
10 years ago.
So he might have been there visiting if that was his father that
and
Mycroft
it
talked
says
about.
Gray deals with dementia, so maybe something with that. Because it said we couldn't figure out why the dude retired.
So here's the next question. Should we go look at the death certificate of that older Goldfire and find out maybe what he died of, and maybe the records might show if this Dr. Goldfire is his son?
Something, yeah. That might work. Okay.
All right, so back to Dad as the lead investigator. Based on the information that we have, we want to make sure that we know the difference between these two Goldfires. I think one was the father and one was the son.
I want to confirm that.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Somerset House, which is the archive of births, deaths, marriages, and wills to be consulted freely. So what the book says is, we found Wiggins to be in the vestibule of Somerset House. He was leaning back on one of the columns which hold the vaulted ceiling, leafing through the pages of his notebook. The sound of our footsteps caused him to look up. I hope you found information useful to solving this case, says Wiggins, because it seems like we're kind of running all over the place now.
Yeah, I know.
I've discovered something useful while checking one of the birth certificates. George Tubman Goldfire, which is Dr. Goldfire,
Yes.
has a twin brother, William Tubman Goldfire.
The other one was W. Goldfire,
It was
But-
William Goldfire.
but it was an older.
A
What we
twin,
knew.
yes, born on March 20th, 1854. Wiggins reads in his notepad from Agnes Goldfire, born Agnes Ingalls, and of Walter Goldfire. Walter was the one we talked,
Yeah.
the one. Both dead, interrupts Billy. The mother died very young, accidental death on April 12th, 1866, at the age of 28. The father died on June 10th, 1889, from a heart attack at the age of 57.
Heart attack. Okay.
Anything else? Asked Wiggins. The wedding certificate indicates that Agnes Ingalls and Walter Goldfire were married on June 10th, 1852. Other children? None officially declared in any case. So we do know that Walter was his
probably
father,
that.
but now we know that he's got a twin brother.
We don't know if they're identical or not.
Well, no, it doesn't say
Because
that.
possibly if it was identical, it might not be our Goldfire in the meat cooler.
That's true. It might not
It
be.
could be the twin.
But
Or the twin could have talked to us. We don't know.
that is also true.
Could be messing with us.
So
That wasn't very helpful, though.
no, that wasn't. But that
we
does give us some
know.
more information, but not information that is really very helpful.
It's my turn, but what do I want to do?
I know. So let's take a break and figure out where we go from here. All right. So we're going to go talk to Dr. Gabilsko, just because we're kind of running out of our leads are turning out to be empty. So since he is another name on the list, doesn't show that he's with any hospital. It just shows an address for him.
I said 46.
Okay. Ooh, alright. We're sorry for bothering you, Doctor, says Wiggins as we sit down in his private office. Well, talk, young man. Dr. Gabilsko is rather rotund, but unlike the usual stereotype, he's far from jovial. He even looks rather severe. What's your relationship with Goldfire? We're colleagues, and we've worked together on occasion. Do you get along well? I think so, yes. Our approach to medical work is different, but in the eyes of the layman, that's not important.
So he's thinking that they're still okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You think so? So why are you? Could you tell us what you're doing on Saturday night? Well, why are you asking? Goldfire hired us. He believes his life may be in danger. Did a patient threaten him? No, a colleague. Another doctor? Yes, Goldfire gave us a list of names. He believes one of these people wants to kill him, and your name is on that list. That's absurd. How did he reach that conclusion? He explained to us that he had come up with a series of tests which allow one to detect the subconscious intentions of murderers. I don't claim to understand. Who sent you? Gabilsko gets up from his chair violently and stares at us with his small eyes. It's not Goldfire. I've never heard so much idiotic trash. Goldfire thought, as do I, that organic disease are the source of mental illness. Test. He isn't a mad Austrian. The body is an engine. If all the parts are in good order, it works. If it's not working, then you must look for the cracked piston. You don't stop to wonder if steel has a subconscious.
He said he's Austrian?
No, he said he isn't a mad Austrian.
Okay, because the professor, Moritz Benedict, is from Vienna.
Okay.
So I wonder if he's thinking this guy's the mad Austrian.
Well,
Because Vienna is in Austria.
Here's the other thing, too, because it mentioned organic. When we talked to, who was it, Gray, he mentioned something about organic as well, like how
Okay.
the stem of it, so that's something. I don't want to contradict you, Doctor. All I know is that Goldfire reached the conclusion that someone wants to kill him. In that case, gentlemen, I can only see one solution. For him to come and see me as a patient, not as a colleague. Good day, sir. Well, he dead, so I don't think that's going to happen. Well, we think he's dead.
No. And
But he got upset, too.
well, yeah, he's getting accused of basically being harboring murderous feelings.
I don't know.
But he mentioned a mad Austrian. So I wonder
Maybe
if
we
that
need to
has.
check that out.
I wonder if that has to do with this guy, with this, like I said, Professor Moritz Benedict of Vienna, who's going to hold a lecture on the anatomical characteristics of the criminal brain. Will also present his collection of the brains of the greatest criminal of Europe, including the brain of Nicholas Bosch, the child murderer from Bucharest.
Here's my thing, too. And this is what I don't believe we said this on camera.
Wait.
What?
Back up a second.
What?
How much money did Fields have in his pocket?
He had, what dude was that? When did we go see him? Meeks. What was Meeks' address?
Meeks was 38 EC.
38 EC.
Was that Meeks or Murray that we talked to?
Yeah, Meeks was the one who had the body. Or no, it was Murray. I'm sorry.
Murray is 22 Southwest.
Southwest. I'm sorry. 22 Southwest. 7 shillings and 9 pence.
Okay. Because the price of admission is 2 shillings and 6D, whatever that is.
D.
Or at least it says the price is of 2S 6D. So I thought maybe he had the right amount to go see this dude.
I mean, he probably has it. He's got the shillings. I don't know what the D is, though. 'Cause it's not pounds, pence.
Yeah, I don't know.
They don't have dimes or dollars. I don't know. I should know this better. Okay, well, that's interesting. But like I was saying, though, they all are thinking it doesn't sound like the Goldfire they know. And we know this guy's got a twin. I feel like there's something up with his twin now that we've came to that conclusion.
But there's no mention of the twin in the book as far as being able to go talk to him or anything. It's like we don't know anything. We don't know where
We
he's at.
don't know anything about this twin, but I feel like, I mean, they're all convinced that this isn't the Goldfire they know. And they're thinking this just isn't right. I don't know. Something's going on in this family. Because I just keep going back to something there.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, so let's think on this a little bit and see if we can figure out what our next move is going to be.
Lestrade.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to Scotland Yard, and we're going to see if there's any more information we can get out of Lestrade and Gregson. So it is back to me. So let's see. Scotland Yard is 13 Southwest.
You got it?
Okay, so no, Inspector Lestrade isn't here, but Inspector Gregson is. What do you want, Wiggins? Grayson asked as we enter his office. I hope you're not going to hang around for long. The inspector seems to be in a good mood today. We only need to be here for a moment, Inspector, says Wiggins as he slumps into the chair facing the desk. The inspector shakes his head. Gregson closes a file and pushes it to the corner of his impeccably tidy desk. Here's a case I won't be losing any sleep over, he said softly. What is that one about? Bobby Field is one of the least reputable characters in London. He's been killed. I saw the article in the police news. He was found in the Thames. Isn't that right?
Yes.
True. It was probably revenge. He must have let down someone once too many times. Too much cash and not enough judgment, if you see what I mean. We're rounding up the usual suspects. And now, Wiggins, what brings you here? What do you know about Dr. Goldfire? He's an expert. He advises us from time to time when we catch a true madman. He's an expert in psychopaths.
Okay.
So that told us nothing other than that we already knew that he was working on the Bobby Fields case.
So that was a waste.
So yeah, I'm not really sure who to talk to now. It just seems like we're not getting a lot of information. So let's figure. Oh, you got something?
I mean, we're at turn 11.
All right, so let's give it some thought. All right, we're back with Megan as the lead investigator.
Yep. So I still think something's going on with the family, and I'm gonna go back to the mother,
Agnes,
but her last name was Ingalls. We have two of those in the book. So we have a Jules and a Wallace.
And we've already gone to the records, so we don't know who her
We don't
parents
know anything really. But I mean, there's two. I'm gonna go ahead and pick the latter as Wallace. 50 SE. So let me go ahead. Ooh, big paragraph here. Okay. Wallace Ingalls greets us in his living room and chats with us while waiting for tea. A servant serves us and leaves us comfortably settled in with our host. Wallace Ingalls, Agnes Goldfire's younger brother, freshly arrived in his 60s, seems inclined to talk about his late sister and her husband. Walter was one of the most gifted politicians of his time. He would have certainly become prime minister had he continued on his way. And Agnes was a good person, the ideal companion for Walter in his political ascension. The family always has doubts on the subject of Agnes's death. Mr. Ingalls' voice becomes soft and filled with sadness. Her death seemed troubling with premature to all of us. Troubling, inquires Wiggins. It's not that uncommon when someone dies young in an unexplained way. Of course, agrees Mr. Ingalls. However, in the case of Agnes's death, it was different. Sure, Dr. Halley, which was one on this list, concluded it was an accident, but there was a dark point which never cleared up. Why did Walter abandon his career, move to the countryside with his children, fire their tutor? The children never managed to adapt. Ingalls shakes his head. In any case, I never saw them again after my sister's death. Can you tell us more about the children and their tutor? That could help us greatly.
Their tutor. Who was the tutor?
You must forgive an old man's failing memory. I haven't thought about them in a long time. The children seem to appreciate the young man. He stayed with them 2 or 3 years longer than any other tutor. Do you remember his name? Etard or Arpchad? I'm not sure anymore. But I know that after he was let go, he opened a bookshop. One last thing, Mr. Ingalls. When did you see the Dr. Goldfire for the last time? At Walter's funeral. Good gracious, that must be over 10 years ago. I've sometimes seen his name in the papers, but never tried to renew the friendship. I don't know what happened to William on his father's death.
Everything goes back to like 10 years ago.
Well, 10 years ago was when this guy died, at Walter's funeral. So that's when the dad died. And we don't know what happened to William, which was the twin.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any of them since the funeral.
So the other one that we haven't talked about, now we have a connection, is that Sir Charles Halley.
Halley.
Halle. He is at 44 Southwest.
So he was the doctor at
He was the
Agnes's
doctor.
death.
Yeah, he was the doctor at Agnes's death, and he's on the list. So, me being the lead investigator now, I think we should check him out.
But here's the thing, too. I think he was giving us some information, but we don't know exactly this name of the tutor. But we know he opened a bookshop. There's a bookshop section in the back of the directory. So if we can't find anything, we might want to check the bookshops.
You said he was a tutor?
He was a tutor.
He's a tutor.
But wrong tutor. But I mean, we're getting somewhere. So I think, and Halley was the last one on the list too.
Yeah. So let's check out Halley. So he is at 44 Southwest. Wiggins brings down the heavy brass knocker on Sir Halley's door many times, but no one answers. To our great surprise, when we turn the handle, the door opens. We enter timidly. Sir Charles, Wiggins' voice is weak despite its echo heard throughout the apparently empty house. The door to his office is cracked open, and we enter cautiously. A tragic tableau is laid out for us in the room. He's dead, says Wiggins, after having searched for a pulse on the neck. Let's take a quick look before calling the police. Sir Charles, at least we assume that's who he is lying on the floor on his stomach. The right side of his head is bloody, and he seems to have been hit with a blunt object. Just like Mr.
Bobby,
Fields.
yeah.
His right hand, of which the middle finger is stained with ink, lies near his head. His left arm is lying along his body.
Ink. We had a handwritten note.
Look in the fireplace. We discover a half-burned cane. The handle is silver and bears a crest which Wiggins recognizes as being the crest for the University of London. An engraving states, Promotion 1878 G. Tubman Goldfire.
The guy couldn't find his cane either. Remember?
Yeah, but this engraving is Dr.
Tubman's.
Goldfire's.
Ooh, okay.
Wiggins slowly walks to the telephone and calls Scotland Yard.
Alright, so we got some information.
Okay, so it's back to me.
We're really kind of running out of things to try, so I think we're going to go to this King's College Hospital and talk to this guy, this Professor Moritz Benedict, who is from Vienna.
Austrian.
He's Austrian.
And we
So
made that a point, so there's a lot going on here. It looks like half of London has come to listen to Professor Benedict and see his collection, declares Wiggins, as we take our place at the end of the waiting line. The queue moves swiftly, and we soon step through the auditorium's entrance. Wiggins pays the young lady the price of all of our tickets, and we sit down at the back of the packed auditorium. The room holds close to 200 people, far from Wiggins' exaggerated estimates. The hubbub caused by such a crowd immediately stops when the clock strikes 8 and a robust man comes on the stage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Morris Benedict from the University of Vienna, and I am happy to see so many of you here tonight. Tonight's conference presents an introduction to the comparative anatomy of brains. All of the specimens I'm about to introduce to you have been removed by myself from criminals I've interrogated at length. Most were executed for their crimes, the others died of natural causes. During the professor's speech, 2 young assistants have placed an easel covered in charts near the podium. The professor then launches into a description and detailed comparison of brain areas, criminal or not. We throw a glance at Wiggins and see him head down, chin on his chest, his eyes are closed and his breathing deep. Careful to imitate our leader, we also doze off. An elbow jab from Wiggins pulls us out of our short nap at the very moment where a distant clock strikes 10. The speaker in the middle is comparing the fissures in the gyri in an enthusiastic way, but he seems to realize the agitation of his public and quickly puts an end to his conference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you now wish to examine my brain collection, I'd be happy to show them to you. The curtain opens to reveal 3 long tables covered in sealed jars, each containing a brain floating in a yellowish liquid. Please enter the stage from the left and leave by the right in order to see all of the study subjects. Let's try to talk with the professor, says Wiggins. We follow him and end up in the front of the professor, proud like a peacock in front of a line of amateurs who walk by in front of his brain collection. Professor Benedict, asks Wiggins, can we chat with you for a moment? Of course, young man, what's the matter? We work for Dr. Goldfire. For George? Well, where is he? I'm not really sure, answered Wiggins evasively. We should have met last night when I arrived in London, but he didn't make it. He should have been here tonight, and I don't see him. That's not like him. And you work for him? Yes. Are you doctors? No. Detectives. Detectives, exclaims Benedict. Why would George need detectives? He believes his life to be in danger. Well, what do you mean in danger? He suspects someone of wanting to murder him. Murder? I would think I was hearing a joke, except that George doesn't have a sense of humor. Tell me everything. Dr. Goldfire has reasons to believe that his life is in danger. He told us that he came up with a psychological test which would allow him to decipher the subconscious of an individual and detect a potential killer. He gave us a list of all the subjects, all doctors. Wiggins hands the list to Benedict. That's grotesque, shouts the professor, having looked over the list. Do you know who any of these men are? They are some of the most respected practitioners in the world of science. A test to decipher the subconscious? Absurd. Who gave you that list? Dr. Goldfire. That's ridiculous. It's not even in his handwriting. Well, of course it is, answers Wiggins, perplexed. I hold a regular written correspondence with George, and this isn't his handwriting. Moreover, he would never proclaim such absurdities to be from unconscious motives. That isn't a country doctor, or a psychoanalyst, or a Carlton pretending he could cure patients by making them talk endlessly and analyzing their dreams. While these theories are becoming increasingly popular, George knows that all disease has a physical source. I don't know what game you're playing, gentlemen, but I have no wish to be a part of it. And before Wiggins could add anything else, Professor Benedict walks away from us in long strides and exits the stage, leaving us with his brain collection.
So he says that handwriting is not the person that he's been talking to. So either he's been talking to the real Dr. Goldfire, or we were visited by the twin.
I'm thinking it's the twin. There's got to be something with this twin.
Well, because he
That
says he's
kinda
never
confirms it.
used John's name,
Never. Ooh, that's true.
so he might have
This is going back to the twin.
looked him up. Yeah, it's always an evil twin. All right, so
Okay.
let's dwell on this a little bit and see where it leads us. Okay, so what we've decided to do is go to Dr. Goldfire's house.
I'm thinking we might find a twin there.
Yeah, we're thinking this twin's got something to do with all this.
So we're going to his house.
Which one did I say it was at?
82 something?
82WC. Okay.
Go for it.
All right. 82 Hastings Street is located in one of those neighborhoods where the uniformity of meticulously clean and ordered buildings erases the idea of British individualism, a heritage from a Teutonic king for a people he never understood or loved, only led. Their houses now represent British respectability. The red bricks and whitewashed fronts are the faces behind which hide doctors, lawyers, and prosperous merchants. I was going to say preposterous. As an answer to Wiggins' knock on the door, an old woman opens it. She's imposing, the sort of woman usually found on a farm. She greets us with a brief, "Yes?" Dr. Goldfire hired us to do some work. The doctor's not in, and I don't know when he'll be back. Well, we already know he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
We had an appointment with him, says Wiggins, with an innocent look. Could we wait here for him? That's not a problem for me. We follow her inside the house. Wait in there. She points to a pair of large, closed wooden doors. Wiggins slides them open, and we enter Dr. Goldfire's private office. The room is so cluttered that it seems smaller than it really is. It looks like a wing in the British Museum, says Wiggins, while looking over the contents of the office. There are large tables covered in remaining pieces of skeletons, most of which don't seem human. The warmest touch is a family portrait on the desk. It represents a beautiful couple with their 2 sons, as well as a second young woman and a young man with a heavy mustache. Damn, it looks like a younger version of the governess, observes Wiggins, as we continue our examination of the room. There is a cabinet filled with jars containing brains swimming in a clear liquid. Each jar is labeled with a name and a date. "Would you look at that?" exclaims Wiggins. "It's the brains of some of the most famous murderers of Europe. A catalogue of psychopaths, the Hamburg Ripper, John Carter of Mars. Oh, no. John Carter, the Bristol child slayer, and our old friend, the giant rat of Sumatra. Do you remember him?" "I'll take a quick look," says Wiggins after a few minutes. "If anyone comes, just say that I've gone off to look for the bathroom," he continues while winking at us. A few minutes later, Wiggins, visibly excited, comes back into the room. "You won't believe what I found up there." And he's probably snooping through the medicine cabinet. We climb up a large staircase while hoping no one will ask us the reason for our presence here. Paintings of landscapes of old couples line the walls. We pause at the landing, impatient for Wiggins to show us what he's discovered. He leads us through a corridor to the right. Everything in this house seems to correspond to the Burgundies chic that one would expect from a renowned doctor, but there's something strange in the attic.
Ooh. How did he get to the attic? I thought he was going to the bathroom.
Yeah,
It's a
well,
long detour.
he's trying to establish his pee corner. We climb up the narrow stairs to the armored door held shut by a heavy lock and 2 keyholes. A bell is hanging not very far away. Security here is better than the Tower of London. Wiggins sticks his eye on each keyhole in succession. We can't see much. He then tries to talk through them. "Hello? Hello? Is anyone in there?" No answer. "Let's go inside," says Wiggins, his eyes sparkling. We submit counterpoints, but what else could we do? Wiggins tries different keys until the door opens. We go in and make sure the room is void of any occupant. It's a very large room which apparently is used as a residence by someone. 2 windows held fast by solid iron bars let in at least a few rays of summer. Look, the bars have been pried. The iron bars are indeed able to be easily removed, but have been set in order to give an illusion of solidity. One side of the room is used as a bedroom, the other is a study. An old hazelnut desk holds scatterings of books and pages. Observations on men, obsessions and phobias, the human mind, and many other books in French and in German. A framed picture lies on the desk near a bronze lamp. We recognize the same family portrait seen earlier in Goldfire's office. "What the devil?" roars the governess. "I should never have let you out of my sight, you miscreants." Her eyes quickly go over the room. "Where is... Out, all of you! You don't even respect the privacy of this house." We have many questions, but the woman's anger doesn't allow us to ask them. She chases us to the door with a broom.
Alright.
So,
I've got some things.
okay, so let's talk about them, and then we'll come right back. All right, so back to Megan.
So, what we came to the conclusion is the office downstairs had brains in the cabinet. So that means that Goldfire is George. It was his office.
And
he's tied into that one dude giving the lecture thing.
Right, and we think the twin is upstairs under lock and key.
And the lady didn't know he got away because, they had the bell on the door, but the window is pried.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there's something going on, and it all ties back into Bobby. And we know, based on our newspaper, that there was this theft that happened.
Well,
Bobby,
we know he had lockpick stuff, and there's a theft that they talk about. This theft at Pimlico.
I don't know, but we're getting somewhere.
Which took place between Saturday afternoon and Monday morning. Bobby's body was found
Monday
afternoon, so he could have done it and he could have had a partner that killed him and took the stuff.
Yeah, because he didn't have any of the valuables that were mentioned, but I don't know. I want to try this dude.
Who's that?
This Disraeli O'Brien. He's an archivist with the Office of National Archives, and he compiles ancient legal and criminal documents. I don't know.
Well, the other thing is, it said the mom's death is suspicious, but they don't say
if they have anything on that.
They don't mention anything.
Because they won't talk about it, and they say Hallie. I feel like he knew something, but he's not talking about it.
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh yeah. So.
Tubman, I think, killed him with his cane, and then threw the cane in the fire to try to burn the evidence.
The other guy said he was missing a cane too, and the cane thing is sticking out. But here's what this guy says. So, Disraeli O'Brien tells us what he knows about Bobby. What a case that one. Got out of jail recently. These last few years he's been going in and out nonstop. I have seen that he's always operated the same way, easily identified, and he was stupid enough to leave clues behind. He worked with Robert Hitchin often enough.
Hitchin?
Hitchin.
Write that name down. That's
Okay. So Robert Hitchin. We can see if we can find him in the directory. Can you tell us where we could find these people? Field is in the Bobby Field was in the Hagwood Flop House on Sun Street. He told us when he left Millbank. Hitchin gave us a fake address, and I don't know where to find him. Thanks, says Wiggins. Do you know anything under the name of Todman Goldfire? No, there's no file under that name. So that didn't help us with the mob, but it's taking us back to Bobby.
everything kind of comes back to Bobby. So I bet this other guy, he was probably his partner in crime. Yeah. And he probably has all the loot from this robbery.
Hitchin.
But that doesn't really tie it back to Dr. Goldfire.
I don't know. Something weird. I have no idea.
Right. Well, let's take a break and kind of gather our thoughts and figure out where we're going to go from here. Okay, so this is actually day 2 of us working on this case. We started last night, probably about 8:15 or so,
Yeah.
and we actually played for about 2 hours. I'm like, I got to go to bed because I got to get up and go to work in the morning. But you didn't actually want to quit last night.
No, I was like, I want to solve it because I was thinking about it all night trying to figure this out, and it's been bugging me ever since we could start playing it again today.
Megan's sending me a text this morning with theories. What about this? What about this?
I mean, I don't know. But it's your turn, though. So we ended up with thinking the partner was Hitchins. And he was from Millbank Prison, which is a thing we could go visit, but it's your turn, so I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, so after, I've had time to think, one of the things you can do is you can actually go back and reread some of the leads. So the lead that you read, I think a few turns previous, were the ones talking to Agnes Ingalls' brother, Wallace. So I went back and I reread that, and it was talking about this tutor and how he opened up a bookstore. He said his memory was failing and he couldn't really remember the name. It was like Attard or Apchard. So I looked in the directory here, and I was looking at the booksellers. Now there's 2 different kinds here. There's normal booksellers and there's booksellers used and rare. But I saw Hatchards, and to me that kind of sounded very similar to what he was saying. So I've decided that for my investigation, I want to go and I want to go to this bookstore. So it's at 63 Northwest. I'm going to find that in the book here. I'm Johann wait a minute, what's that say? It says, I'm Johann Hatchard. How can I be of use to you? Asked a man about 55 years old, standing bolt upright, blue eyes slightly enlarged by the round lenses of his glasses with twisted frames. Were you the tutor of the Goldfire family? Mein Gott, that was a long time ago. So I wonder if he's Austrian. Because he's kind of speaking German.
Yeah.
What could you tell us about the family and about the death of Mrs. Goldfire? Excuse me, I need to sit down. Hatchard seems troubled. I don't understand what you expect of me. Dr. Goldfire has requested the help of Sherlock Holmes, and we're associates of the latter. Wiggins hopes that this answer will be enough. George was a good boy. He shakes his head. But William, the death of their mother, you say. You're still investigating after all these years. I've always had my suspicions, of course. It's that evil twin.
I'm telling you.
Anything you could tell us would be valuable. I'll never forget that morning. William had been throwing one of his raging tantrums. I could hear him shouting and arguing with his mother. There was a cry, and I ran from the reading room to see the poor woman's broken body at the front of the stairs, and at the top, William, who was looking at his mother's body, smiling.
I told you.
He killed his mama.
I told you.
I spoke to Sir Walter and let him know of my suspicion. He promised me that he'd take them into account, but the next day he announced that the family was leaving for the countryside and that they would no longer need my services. He was very generous, of course. He gave me enough to purchase the store, but I've always felt as though he was buying my loyalty, my silence. This is the first time I have spoken to anyone about the horrible day. Hatchard crumples in his chair, exhausted by the effort required by him by telling of the story. He no longer seems to pay attention to our presence, and we leave him to his thoughts.
I told you the twin did it.
So little William, having a little temper tantrum, pushed his mama down the stairs. It's like throw mama from the train, except throw mama down the stairs.
Mother from the train.
So that's a movie. Billy Crystal, Danny DeVito. So I'm thinking William killed his mama.
Well, kinda.
And I don't know if this guy was, I don't know that I'd say he was a witness.
No,
Because he said he
was there
heard.
after. Well, I mean, I feel like there's something.
He says he could hear him shouting and arguing with the mother. There was a cry, and I ran from the reading room to see the poor woman's broken body at the footsteps. So he got there. He didn't see exactly what happened,
he was
but he
there
sees
moments
William
after.
smiling.
That's creepy.
So yeah, he's bad news.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so let's go ahead and pause and deliberate our next move. Okay, so after what I've been thinking about today, I think the twin might have visited us first, and not actually our Goldfire that we think we're dealing with is Charles. I think it was William.
Yeah, I think so too.
So my question is, there's this cab company. I'm assuming he took a cab to get there. I wonder if he has any information on, like, if he took them.
And my thought too was, were any of these cabbies around when you know supposedly the gunfire or the gunshot went off by that club?
I don't know. So I'm thinking I want to try the cabbie too.
All right.
Because I did just go back and read like the story, and this guy that came did have a cane. So I'm also wondering, because we see the cane was in Hallie's fireplace later on too.
Yep.
So I don't know.
And Hallie was killed with blunt force trauma,
Could have been
which
the
is
cane.
probably by the cane. Yeah,
And then
you're
probably thrown in the fire. So this is the Lomax on 5 Southwest. So wait, no, not that one. Central Carriage Depot. I'm sorry, 5 West Center. So meeting point for the London Cabbie, source of information on the movement of suspects. So we're gonna go to 5 WC.
So West Central. So where is that?
5.
All the way up here.
Here we go. It's kind of short, but there's a little clip it. We wait for over an hour in front of the stables for Wiggins to look over the log of cab drivers. We watch the beautiful cabs entering and leaving the stables in their unceasing ballet through London. We soon see Wiggins snaking his way through the traffic toward us. I found some information which should be of interest to us, he says, notepad in hand. Let's go to that cafe and see what we can get out of it. We're quickly sitting around a table, tea and coffee cups around Wiggins' list. Here is some interesting information from yesterday. So at 6:15, you went from Hastings Street to Lambeth Road. 6:20 went to Tavistock Place to Lambeth Road. 8 o'clock, Lambeth Road to Eaton Terrace. 8:30, Elizabeth Street to Baker Street.
Okay, wait a minute. So Baker Street was right before he came. So
From Elizabeth Street, 67 Elizabeth Street.
67 Elizabeth Street. Does it give any idea where that's at?
Nope. You actually got to use the map now for the map.
Okay.
But then after he left Baker Street, he went to Southampton Row at 8:55. So he was with us for 25 minutes.
Let's find out where he went before and where he went after. Because if the after one is to Hallie's place, then we know he killed Hallie.
Or he might have done it before. Oh no, because he had a cane, so he did it after, yeah.
Yeah, so let's try to find this on the map and we'll come right back. Okay, so what we did was based on the information that we had on the cab,
Yes.
we know where this went to. So the origination is from Goldfire's house.
Yes.
And from there it goes to the insane asylum. And then it goes back to like a block away from Goldfire's house.
And then picks it up there again.
And
Goes
then
back to the asylum.
Goes back to the asylum,
And then from the asylum goes to Eaton Terrace.
which is where Dr. Hallie is at.
And then from there goes to Elizabeth Street, which is about a street over from Eaton. Goes to Baker Street, hangs out with about 25 minutes in Baker Street, and then goes to Southampton Row, which I looked up is a boarding house.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do
we
now?
know where he's gone,
Yeah.
but I think I
And
don't know.
and it's really odd that he went back and forth to the insane asylum. So what I'm thinking is
It
the
wasn't-
first time
yeah.
was probably the real Goldfire, The second time could have been
William.
Yeah, it could have been William, the evil twin. So, where did I just say I wanted to go? I wanted to go to
the prison.
I said because we don't really know where else we've got here, so we want to try to connection with Bobby Fields. So we're going to go to the prison.
Because Robert Hitchens was his partner, and they got out of the prison.
Okay, now is that my turn? Am I the lead investigator?
That's you. So it was at 23 Southwest. So there you go.
All right.
It's a big one, so hopefully we'll get something out of it.
Okay, so it says Director Bones' voice is threatening. You said 23, right?
Yeah.
Director Bones' voice is threatening, and he looks at us as though we were convicts who had escaped from his prison. We wait on the other side of his desk, an old oak desk cluttered with papers, the sign of a man more inclined to working than trying to impress his visitors with expensive and polished wood furniture. Who are you here to get information on? Asked Bones brusquely. Bobby Field, retorts Wiggins in the same tone. What did that vermin do? Asked Bones. While keeping his cold gaze on us, the director, in a vest and short-sleeved shirt, heads to his coat hung on a hook by the door, pulls out a cigar from its pocket, and lights it. He was killed. Right in the middle of committing a crime, I suppose. We don't know. Our investigation isn't over. What can you tell us about him? A typical member of the underworld, a jewel thief who knows how to steal, but who isn't intelligent enough to get a good price when reselling the fruit of his crime, and not incentive enough to change his modus operandi and not get caught. I've got hundreds of Bobby Fields. Did he make friends when he was here? Friends? Men like him don't make friends at best. They look for men they can use. Millbank isn't a social club, Mr. Wiggins, and I don't run it that way. There are these little old ladies who have taken care of these roses in their gardens, turn their attention a few hours a week on the proper population of the prison. If only we could educate them, teach them to drink tea, they would be good citizens. Poppycock. The smoke comes out of Bones' nose and mouth as he draws on his awful cigar. I see what you mean, Wiggins answers prudently. Field was rather quiet, so he did get a few privileges, such as the right to share a cell. His companion, William Bellamy, was a newcomer to the world of crime, a small fish, a coward. He's not able to do much and never puts himself in danger. And he's still here? No, he was freed a week ago. I don't think we'll see him again. He'll have the rest of his life in his own prison, behind his own bars. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work. So William Bellamy was with Fields, and said Fields was a jewel thief.
We have a couple jewel shops.
So that newspaper. So we have the theft at Pimlico.
Mm-hmm.
They reported a burglary took place between Saturday afternoon and Monday morning. They discovered many pieces of jewelry had disappeared, along with many silver plates. So I'm thinking that Bobby Fields is the one that was part of this theft. Now, what do we know about Bellamy?
We have an address in the directory. He's at 49 Northwest. So we have a location for him.
Okay.
We could talk to him.
All right, so let's chat amongst ourselves and figure out what our next move is. Okay, Megan is now the lead investigator.
I think I'm going to go check out this Bellamy guy and see if we can find anything out. And him and Maud Bellamy are at 49 Northwest, and we've got a little bit here. The shaky stairwell leading to Bellamy's attic apartment is situated in a small alleyway. An imposing woman, taller by a good head and heavier by a good 100 pounds than our fearless leader, answers Wiggins' bang on the door. What do you want? She roars. We want to see William Bellamy, declares Wiggins, using all the suave charm he's capable of. This is not enough to move this Amazon, but the threat of getting the police involved allows us to gain access to the inside of the room. Bellamy is a timid man. There must be some truth to the proverb about how opposites attract, as it's so difficult to picture these two living together. The woman talks fast. Who are you and what do you want? We're friends of Bobby Field. We're looking for information about his death and a case of missing jewels. Bellamy expresses himself for the first time. I didn't do anything. I don't know anything. Why are you coming here to bother me? I don't care who you might be, shouts the woman. Get out and ride away. We realize that we don't have a choice. As we carefully come down the stairs, Wiggins simply says he protests too much to be clean.
Okay.
So there's something going on, but we didn't get much out of him.
No, that was kind of a dead end. What we could do is, I guess we could go to look at the home of Thurston Robles, because that's where the theft took place.
Last name?
Robles, Robles. So let's
R-O-B.
Robles.
Thurston Robles, 75 Southwest.
All right, so I think I'll go there and check that out.
Ooh, there's a bit.
Okay, 75 Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
We're not from the police. We work for Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is interested in our burglary? What good news. We're in the boudoir of the Robles house talking to Mrs. Amanda Robles, the woman of the house. She's an energetic woman with auburn hair and hazelnut eyes. I'm totally open to helping you. What would you like to know? We only know what was said in the newspaper, said Wiggins. Could you tell us more about the missing items? Then, if it's not too much to ask, can we talk to the household staff? Of course. However, I've told the police, we're sure the people in our employ had nothing to do with that. They've been with us for so long. There were very few stolen items. 3 pieces of jewelry from my nightstand. A ruby, gold, and diamond one is the most expensive of the 3.
So ruby, gold, diamond. Okay.
My husband had given it to me less than a year ago. There was also a brooch worth very little, but it was a gift from my parents for my 16th birthday, and I'm very sad that it's disappeared. The 3rd piece is a gold pendant inlaid with little gems. In addition to the stolen jewelry, 2 small silver platters were taken. Luckily, I had taken much of my jewelry with me on the trip to Ipswich. Did the police have any idea who's behind the crime and how they got in? They didn't really share their theories with us, but it seems they believe it was the work of a lone thief. A few things were stolen, and that he came in through a window on the ground floor at the back of the house. The work of a professional, according to the police, but I don't think they have any leads to his identity. I must admit that the idea of a man breaking into our house in our absence is very disturbing, even if I feel lucky that so few things have gone missing. Mrs. Robles had remained calm throughout our interview, but her voice breaks with the last answer and she looks away. After a few moments, she resumes, You were asking about the household staff, she says as she leads us out of the boudoir. There are only 2 you'll need to question. Margaret, our cook, doesn't live here and was absent the entire weekend. This is Hoskins, our butler. Hoskins, these gentlemen are associates of Sherlock Holmes and are investigating the robbery. I've assured them you would give them your full cooperation. Mr. Wiggins, I entrust you to Hoskins' care. He'll bring in Emily when you want to talk with her. Good day. Thank you for your help, Mrs. Robles. We'll do all we can to make sure we cover what belongs to you. Mr. Wiggins, I suppose you want to know my schedule between the departure of Mr. and Mrs. Robles on Saturday and the discovery of the theft Monday morning. Hoskins is in his well-groomed 50s, is a small man of average height, and at first glance a perfect incarnation of the British butler. Without waiting for a reply from Wiggins, he begins to give a detailed description of the 48 hours in question. It's all my fault. I should have at least discovered the problem sooner. I've been neglectful in my daily routine. Lazy. Normally, I check all doors and windows before leaving. I didn't do so Sunday night. I also should be checking the silverware, but as it hadn't been used, I didn't do it, to my great regret. I suppose you'll follow your routine Saturday night, and thus the burglary only happened on Sunday. Totally, sir. Emily and I were present from 7. It would be disconcerting to think that the man had come into the house during the night in which we were both sleeping, but it's a possibility. Ah, Emily, he says, seeing a young woman of 18 years of age appear on the stairs. These gentlemen have a few questions to ask you. I can tell you what I know, which is not much. Saturday night I was with my uncle and my aunt in Bermondsey. Hope I pronounced that right. And I only came back Sunday early in the evening. I've been over all I remember, but I can't think of anything that was out of the ordinary. Sorry, gentlemen. So we already know, based on the guy at Millhouse Prison, that Fields knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
He was a jewelry thief, but didn't know how to get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But he didn't have any jewelry on him.
No. So.
But he had very little money. And it said he didn't know how to sell it, right?
Right.
We have a couple of jewelry stores we could try to check out. See if they know anything. That, like, if they sold anything, got anything really cheap.
All right, so let's give it some thought and we'll come right back. All right, so we've followed 20 leads, and we don't really feel like we've gotten everything that we might need because we don't know. I mean, we've got some. We've got guesses.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and the rule book says to go into the back of the case book, and there is a series of questions. So there's 2 series. So
we can answer most of the first ones, we think.
So let's just go through this and see how well we did, and realize some of these are guesses. So who is the dead body in the cold room?
Goldfire.
Goldfire.
George. Not William.
George, right. Who killed him? We think William killed him. Why was he killed?
I think
he was just psycho.
Yeah.
Okay. Where is the killer hiding?
In the boarding house.
And who was a witness to the death of Agnes Goldfire? William, because he killed her.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only one that was actually in there because the tutor did not see it. The tutor heard the scream, came out, and saw the body at the foot of the steps.
Yeah.
The crumpled body. Now, the other part of that is on Field's murder.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which?
Who killed Sir Charles Halley? We think
George. Well, it was George's cane.
it was George's cane, but
I
it was
think
the psycho brother set him up because Dr. Halley was the one who said it was an accident.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
So we think that the psycho brother William
maybe trying to
was covering it up. Why was he killed?
To
cover it up. Who killed Bobby Field?
No idea. I can't figure that one out.
Yeah, I don't know that. And why was he killed?
I don't know.
I think he was killed because he was an idiot.
Probably.
Because he had the jewels on him, and he didn't know how to sell them. Somebody came up behind him and bonked him on the head. All right, so now what we're going to do is it says to read the solution.
Here's our solution.
So that's a long bit. Why don't we, instead of reading that word for word, why don't we kind of skim through it and give a synopsis of it? So hang on 1 second.
So I was right. It was the evil twin.
Yeah. So we kind of
had it just
our
a
guesses.
long way around.
Well, our guesses turned out to be right because. So let's go back to the questions here. After reading Holmes' thing, they actually had him tied up and brought him in. So we know that the real Dr. Goldfire was the one in the cold room. He was put in the cold room so that the medical examiner could not determine the time of death.
Yep.
Who killed him? His brother. Why was he killed? Because his brother's a psycho. Where is the killer hiding? He was hiding in that boarding house, so we were right. Who was a witness to the death? Well, it was William.
Yep.
Then this is what we don't know. We don't know the second series part.
No.
So is that in the envelope?
No. Careful.
Aha. So this says the first series. Oh, so here's our points. So George Tubman Goldfire.
Which we knew.
So we got 20 points for that.
Cool.
Who killed him was William. We got 20 points for that. For bitterness and for revenge. Well, that's pretty much what we said because he's kind of psycho towards his brother.
Yeah.
So we're going to give ourselves the points for that. Where was he found? At Mrs. Warren's flop house.
Which was the boarding house.
So this is actually saying that Johann Hatchard saw William right after he had pushed his mother from the top.
Which is what we said, pretty much, because he was...
But he was not the witness. This actually says who was a witness to the death. He didn't actually witness the death.
You're taking that too literally, I think.
Well...
Because, see, I always thought he was a witness. Because, I mean, he came immediately after. He saw that the guy was there at the crime.
Okay. So let's go on to the second part. So, who killed him? Which was William, which was what we said. For revenge in his part of William's diagnosis of his internment.
Yeah. And
also to frame his brother, which we kind of figured, which was why he put the cane in the fireplace.
Yeah.
Was,
to frame him.
So we kind of got that.
So why... so who killed
Bobby? So Maud, the Amazon lady, killed Bobby.
Which was Bellamy's wife.
Yeah, Maud Bellamy followed Field, intercepted him right after he burgled the Robles with the intent of mugging him and killed him. We don't have enough information to know whether or not the murder was premeditated. So to tally your score, add the points obtained by answering the questions, and then total the number of leads you followed. Then compare the number of leads that followed by Holmes, 6 in this case. If you followed more than Holmes, subtract 5 from your score for each lead.
Extra lead.
Each extra lead, which was 14 extra leads.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Or negatives.
Yeah, if you followed fewer leads than Holmes, add 5 points to your score. So
we had 100 from the first series. Because there's 20 apiece. So we had that. And we assumed those. So we had 115, I would say, because we didn't know it was Bellamy.
So figure up our score real quick.
So 115.
So we had 14 extra leads.
So 14 times.
Multiply that by 5.
5 is 14. 70.
So
115 minus 70, we got 45 points.
So that's not really bad.
Mm-hmm.
At least we thought we were going to finish negative.
Well, yeah, we're still positives.
All right. So now that we've kind of put this to bed, let's get to what we think. All right, Megan, since you are more of the Sherlock fan, although we both really like Sherlock, I'm going to let you go first.
I like it. I think it's cool. Even though it is kind of long and you feel like you're kind of running around. I mean, we pretty much ended up at all the right places, I think, to kind of get the hints. We might have did a couple that we didn't really need to. But, I mean, we went to all the ones that Sherlock went to. And we did visit the Bellamys. We just didn't kind of put that together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we kind of had it, but I think it's cool how, I mean, you get the book of testimonies, you have a directory to kind of figure it out, you got a really obscure newspaper, and you get the map, and...
Well, and here's the thing.
I just think it's cool, like, just the theming of it and how it puts you in that story.
So what you didn't see a lot of was us using this little magnifying glass and going around and looking at different streets, especially once we found the cab stuff, trying to find what was near there and maybe how the killer... Like I said, we found some things like a street away, so we kind of figured that he went here. Yeah, that's how he got the cab. There was a lot of conversation. There was a lot of rereading the leads that we had gone over before to make sure that we didn't miss anything, because there were times where we kind of felt like we were at a dead end. I mean, we didn't really know what to do.
Continuously gameplay, it took us 4 hours to come to it, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, we were conferring a lot, we were going back and forth, and we were just kind of trying to hit it up. So, I mean, it is kind of a long game, but I think it's cool, because it does put you right in it.
It does.
And I think that's awesome. It's like a really cool choose-your-adventure clue type game, and I love both of those things, so I think this is awesome.
That is a really good analogy. That's what I would consider this as. Is it's a create-your-own-adventure type thing. I like it just for the fact it's cooperative, so we have no guidelines whatsoever. All we go is we kind of have a starting point, and then we make our own decisions. We determine where we're going to go, who we're going to talk to, that sort of thing. So I find that really neat. And this is the first time we've ever really played a game like this.
Yeah.
I've played other story games before. Well, you have too, because like Betrayal at House in the Hill is a story-driven game. I've played Above and Below. So in that regard, it's somewhat similar, but this one, we didn't even care about the points.
No.
It's not like we were trying to do that. We were trying to basically figure the story out. But we got to the point where we pretty much just had to kind of say, this is all we really know.
We don't know.
Let's go to the questions and see how well we can do.
Yeah.
So we felt we did pretty good that way. I'm really looking forward to now building onto this, because this newspaper that we got for this will actually be used in later cases. So like I said, this was case number 5. There's 10 in this set.
Okay.
The first 4 are the Jack the Ripper ones. So we'll get to those last.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to trying case number 6 and figuring out how well that plays. And hopefully it won't take us this long. But this is also a kind of game that you can go long and break it up like we did over 2 nights. So,
or you could just do it all in one day and just, for the fun of it. But
well, you could, but
that's
it's also...
what I wanted to do last night. I was like, let's just do it. I mean, we would have been up till midnight or after. But...
Yeah, this is also a game where it's kind of like reading a good book. It's hard to put down. You don't want to. You want to keep reading the next chapter.
I mean, Sherlock Holmes books are pretty good on their own. So, I mean, I always, I want to figure it out, too, as I'm reading it along. Because you kind of put yourself in Watson's position when you read the book. And this one, you're tagging along with him. So, it's kind of cool.
Well, in this one, we're trying to basically piece together exactly what he's going to do anyway. And it does say that you can go back and you can visit him for information. But I don't know that that's really worth it. I prefer to kind of figure it out on my own. That's why I said I don't care about the score at the end of the game. All I'm trying to do is, did I get the questions right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we got, 8 out of the 9, which I think is pretty good. Because we just couldn't figure out that it was Bellamy who did it.
Well, to say why was he killed?
Oh, why? So, I mean, we got 6 out of 8.
Um,
7 out of 9.
9.
Because we didn't know why.
Says we don't have enough information to know whether or not the murder was premeditated. But she had the plan to intercept him right after it and basically mug him. So just whacked him over the head.
You know, it happens.
But no, let's talk about the components. Now the map is it's a paper map. It's double-sided, so you got the Whitehall in the back for the Jack the Ripper ones. But it's not bad. The print is really small, and I know you can't, just looking at this, even with my glasses, I can't read a thing on there
I
other
can
than
kinda, but you do have
I
to
can
get
make
close.
out the numbers, but I can't make out the streets. So when I stick that on there and I start looking around, that to me was the cool
Thematic.
part. It was trying to figure out, okay, what is near these.
What was cool about the Cabbie slip, because we were definitely going and actually utilizing the map for what it was, and kind of thinking, oh, it's this number and that number.
So here's one thing to make sure when you do your own, write down the numbers
Yeah,
that
we
are
didn't do
the
that.
references in the book. You started, I think, the first couple things, but then we had to keep trying to figure out and looking up in the directory, which that is the other thing.
Use a line
where is that directory?
notepad too. Don't just use a piece of printer paper, because I feel like the lines help.
So this logbook or this directory,
It's super handy.
it's really neat because it's got all these different places and it tells you what numbers they are in the book. But then you can go into the back and it's listed by category. So you can go and you can see the doctors, you can see the hospitals, you can look at the bookstores. And this covers all of the cases that are in the box. So you have no idea what any of these are, if they're connected or if they're not connected. You know, we kept looking at the newspaper, and once I found out, that Mr. Fields was a thief, I thought this story here was probably connected. We read that, we got a little bit of leads on that, but none of these other ones really, other than the body that was found in the Thames, are connected. We talked to
That guy.
to Professor Moritz Benedict. We got a little bit of information, but that kind of set us off that, hey, maybe we do have somebody. Once we found out he had a brother.
Well, the handwriting was different. Then we connected the jars. I mean, that kind
Well,
of
we knew,
cemented it,
based
right?
on what he was saying, was that essentially he knew who the real Dr. Goldfire was. So then once we kind of had everybody was saying, oh, well, we were fine. I don't know why he wanted to kill me. Yeah.
They all said it didn't sound like him.
The one assumption we did make at the beginning of the game, which was wrong, was that doorman or whatever who said he'd been in the war.
Yeah.
We thought, well, maybe he didn't hear or maybe there was an actual gunshot and he just didn't hear it.
Could have possibly been, but it was
but
never,
there wasn't.
It was never further developed on that. But
And,
yeah,
and then since Mycroft, when he was over at the club
He
next
didn't-
door,
yeah.
they didn't hear anything.
I
So
was kind of like, yeah, there probably wasn't.
so that's when we started casting doubts on what was going on. And then the evil twin comes up.
And you're like, no, that's too cliche. I'm like, no, this is probably Evil Twin.
But the case book is really cool because it's very very well themed. You can kind of see this is dealing with like an asylum. You got your title there. You've got your date. You've got your intro story, and then the rest of it is all of the leads, and you have no idea which ones you're going to be following. It does say that when you go and try to read a lead, try not to read anything that's not the one that you're doing because you don't want to give things away. And then the back of the book, it's got some illustrations, which I'm not really sure
Well,
what
they
the
might tie into other
significance.
leads we didn't get to as well, because we didn't go to every
Well,
single lead.
that is true. But then you get to the back, and then it's upside down. So you got your questions there. You've got your envelope, and then you've got
Solutions.
here's your solution, which is
The closing.
Holmes, basically. Yeah, it's the closing part of the story. So, did we spoil anything? We did kind of spoil it. I was actually hoping that we wouldn't spoil much in the review of this.
Yeah.
So, we do apologize for that, but you were watching all along anyway, right?
Unless you just, was like,
Yeah.
let's skip it.
So, knowing that in advance, you know that the thing is spoiled. That's pretty much it I have as far as components. The gameplay I found very intriguing. I really enjoyed it. It's very different than any other games, like I said, we've played. So I know I'm kind of repeating myself now. But
I don't know if personally, I mean, this is just something I was thinking earlier. When we were following, like, the Cabbies, I know, like, we were kind of getting confused on, like, where actually was that place. Like, we knew it was up here, but then, like, what number was it? Instead of going back and writing it, maybe, like, a little token you could, like, mark without, like, actually, like, permanently marking, but, like, something you could, like, put on top of it to be like, okay, it was there compared to this or something.
yeah, that would be
Like,
a good
that was
idea.
just something I was kind of thinking of, because I know some things were getting kind of close up here, and I was like, well, I didn't remember exactly where the street was, and I was kind of small and trying to take the notes and all, so, but I don't know. I mean, just minor thing, but I mean, that's something you could probably upgrade yourself to.
So just quick, I want to show off the box in case you didn't watch our unboxing of this. You can see how this is kind of glossy there, but the box itself is a drawer, and it's heavy because you've got a newspaper for every case, you've got a book for every case, so it is nice packaging.
It's super cool.
It is super cool. It will take you some time, and you could have any number of people play this, which is nice. And you could even do it on your own, I guess.
You could.
You just have nobody to bounce
Ideas
off of.
But
So-
I think if you really like Sherlock, if you really like stories that kind of can immerse yourself in it, get this.
Yeah,
It's super cool.
I highly recommend this. And like I said, this was our first play. It is a legacy style game because we would not go back and play this anymore unless it was like 20 years later,
and years and
or
years
in my
later.
case, next year, because I wouldn't remember any of it. But no, it's a lot of fun. Basically, what you do is when you're finished with this, you got a friend that you think you might be interested, give it to them and say, here is plenty of hours worth of entertainment that you're going to have if you like this sort of thing. So no, I highly recommend it. That is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Jack the Ripper, and West End Adventures.
Yep.
And we will catch you guys next time.
Bye.
If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.